3, 2, 1, paper.
Rock.
Oh, dang,
Damn.
I win. Welcome to your weekly trip for anime shit, the Panoramic Perspective Podcast.
That's not a podcast.
But still a podcast. Today's episode is Afro Samurai.
When a young Afro Samurai is witness to his father's murder, he turns into two different Samuel L. Jacksons and seeks revenge.
We watch as a man whose hair reminds me a lot of Nimbus from Dragon Ball goes on a relatively short 5-episode journey with barely any character development until you watch the movie.
And who could forget those wacky side characters who challenge Afro and question why they're killed?
Why you gotta kill all my men? Why you gotta kill me?
Dude, the show makes people die way later than they should. When Afro's dad died, he got his head chopped off, and then a minute later, he finally died.
The Frog King is dead.
When watching Afro Samurai, you need to throw out all logic and embrace the weird. And I hope it's not just nostalgia, but these aesthetics are really cool. They make Afro look so badass. Me personally, I just love the purpose of the creators' wind-blowing shots. Even if they use this on every character, it adds more to the action-packed scenes with it being exaggerated and over the top.
I feel like you have to make Afro look sick as fuck. This is the type of show that just wants to saturate you in as much badassery as possible. But the overexposure of badass can be a bit overwhelming at moments. However, the art style of Afro Samurai is where the creators really take their strides. With a mixture of Japanese culture and American hip-hop, the character designs and atmosphere of the show are truly original. They embrace their twisted world with a grimy appearance that can leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Wait, what?
But in a good way. By decreasing the saturation in their shots while maintaining normal saturation for the color red, they effectively dramatize moments when blood is shed.
And just talk about some awesome imagery and use of foreshadowing. One of my favorite shots being when Gino and the sensei first found Afro. Atsuru had a teddy bear that was being soaked in the rain with raindrops falling down from the bear's eyes, representing Afro's inner emotions of turmoil from losing his father, as well as foreshadowing Gino's future identity.
Bro, I know. I thought it was actually kind of crazy how Gino's story kind of fit in, you know, because it was kind of weird. He turned into a cyborg that had consciousness but didn't have consciousness.
It's they mess him up a little bit in the movie where it's just like, oh, he's been rebuilt so many times that he's not even
the freaking
anymore.
Movie. I was so confused when the movie first started because I was like, okay, yeah, I thought he was dead. I was like, what happened here? I thought he was dead just a second ago.
They do a great job with, in the original series, I think itself, kind of not giving you Gino's story right away and just showing you it through flashbacks. It hits so well when you see everything at the end. Why does Gino hate Afro so much? Like, what led to that?
And I feel like that all stems from almost a sense of it's art, and you know, there's always going to be the first people who do it this way, but afterwards you're never going to like stop using a mechanic. They're just using a mechanic. It's not a matter of making it a surprise, which sometimes it is, and sometimes that makes the expression even better, more impactful. But sometimes it's just a matter of doing a good job at using that mechanic, and it still pays off.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
100% agree.
But yeah, so
the creators also created interesting representation of the main character's inner thoughts and emotions. By having Samuel L. Jackson voice both Afro and his imaginary friend, they showed Afro talking himself through situations in the show and movie.
Maybe we better back off, or you gonna lose that headband.
As well as coming to the conclusion to truly accepting the pain and burden that comes with the life of the headbands by literally killing his inner voice at one point.
my only problem when it came to the physical construction of Afro's inner thoughts was when a villain shot inner thoughts with a sleep dart. This was weird to me because it broke the fourth wall they established throughout the series. No one ever took notice of inner thoughts, but then some random villain shot him specifically when they were standing still.
Coincidence? I think not!
The inconsistency in the series doesn't stop here. More can be seen in the movie, where it appears the writers completely forgot the lore they had set up in the show.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
In the beginning, Afro is attacked by random individuals for what can be thought of as a challenge for the number 2 headband. However, later in the film, Seo takes the number 1 headband from Afro without possessing the number 2 headband and tells him to find the number 2 headband to challenge her. This not only creates a weird understanding of Afro's position in the film, since he was attacked just moments prior for the number 2 headband he should have already possessed, but also by having Seo take the number 1 from him without the number 2, with him needing the number 2 in order to take her number 1. You see the problem here?
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-22. But don't worry, you don't watch Afro Samurai for the story. You truly understand once you realize you watch it for the action. One of my favorite things about the fight scenes is most of them don't contain talking or long monologues, no Bond villains trying to explain their whole evil scheme, none of that. It's just fighting with a dope track put over it. Thank you, RZA!
Dude, while we're still talking about the music, I actually really like the way they did the music in here, and not even for the expressions or anything. Just, it was really cool to craft it because we know it's Afro Samurai and stuff like that. We talked about the Japanese and American hip hop, Japanese culture and American hip hop. The music is very reminiscent of that as well, because it's almost like they took like the classic samurai music and then they put some like fire ass bass over that shit. Just like
they really did. It almost reminds me of like 90s boom bap.
They really stay on theme in this series. You know, everything is samurais, kind of some hip hop influence, but everything that is related to that, it kind of stays on track the whole way through. You never have this sway in terms of like what the central theme is. So that I would say that's probably one of the more impressive things from this series. I will recognize and respect the fact that they tried to stay on theme so well throughout the whole series.
Oh, definitely. 100% agree.
If only they could stay on track with their story. All right, back to it.
And while this may not be the most consistent story, you know, story-wise, it does kill it in the art department, showing young Afro being haunted by his father's death, shouldered with the burden of life of the number 2. Or beautiful landscaping showing off their world accompanied with detailed set pieces that really set the mood.
Yes, they do a great job with some of their set pieces. I love the set they use for the final fight in the show. They utilize a sea of blood that has drowned the trees and caused them to die, representing the death of life and destruction of Earth that has been caused by the senseless killing of humanity for the number 1 and 2 headbands. And let's not forget when Afro sees his father hung up on the crucible along with other former number 1s. Everything is red except for Afro, who is blue. A great representation of Icarus, showing that anyone who wears the number 1 headband gets punished by God for getting too close to his power. But by far, my favorite symbolic piece they utilized in this series had to come from the cherry blossom tree. They reinforced the concept of the fragility and beauty of life in a flashback scene of Afro and Gino in the good old days by having the location of this flashback underneath a cherry blossom tree. The tree acts as a reminder that life is overwhelmingly beautiful, but also tragically short, appropriate for the relationship between Afro and his best friend. Hey, what did you think they were trying to represent with the black and white comic look during the final fight between Afro and his father? Because I thought it was to represent a legend, how people will see that moment when they hear the stories of Afro Samurai.
I can see it as representing a clean slate for Afro, in a sense of going back to basics, with slow draining of color representing Afro closing his mind and finally accepting what it truly means to be number 1, and the black and white showing his solemnity in accepting the burden and pain that comes with it.
But their choices may just be to make it look cool.
This is what I picture.
What did you picture?
I walk in there like a fucking gangster and blow his little fucking ass away on television.
So what is Afro Samurai? It's a series that relies on high-octane action and dramatic set pieces to carry itself through a story that falls a few feet short from being a country away from a solid story. But it's the mysterious demeanor and creativity of this anime that allows it to thrive and be as popular as it was.
With jumping all the way into the deep end and embracing the fact that, well, they're an anime, they set unrealistic standards and have fun with it. It sacrifices the story for Matrix-like scenes that are blended well with an awesome soundtrack that gets your head bobbing and fits every situation Afro finds himself in.
If you're ever in the mood to watch some mind-numbing action, then Afro Samurai is a great choice.
Give it a try and let us know what you think about it. Thanks for watching. See you on the next trip.